Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sure we're live now. And I want to say welcome to our session 2 of our micro MBA here at the University of Chester. And with me here today is Alex Fenton and Gus Day. Alex, welcome. Gus Day, welcome.
Thank you,
And yeah, good. So Alex, you want to say a few words to our audience today?
Sure. So welcome back, everyone, to the Micro MBA session 2, and it's going to be on strategy today with our esteemed speaker, Professor Kurt Allman. But before we introduce Kurt, we just wanted to give you a quick update on the Micro MBA and talk through a few things that happen at the university. So let's talk through that one. So first of all, it's been graduation this week, guys, at Chester Cathedral. So, Gosta, you were gonna give us a bit of an update on how things went at graduation this week.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, everyone. It's noontime for us. We have a cloudy day here in the UK, but it depends on where you are. I might say good morning, good evening, or good afternoon. So as Alex mentioned, we are having graduation ceremonies this week. And you can see some beautiful pictures, some wonderful memories from our recent graduation ceremonies. At the University of Chester, we hold our graduation ceremonies in the cathedral, beautiful and historic Chester Cathedral. And this is a magnificent building with over 1,000 years of history. Provides a truly unique and memorable setting for celebrating the achievements of our students. So graduating in such a historic and inspiring space is a wonderful experience for our students. As you see in the background, we have a cathedral and marking their transition into the next phase of their lives. So we are proud to celebrate their hard work and dedication in a place that holds so much history and beauty, surrounded by their families, their members, and all the teaching team, faculty members.
Such a great day, those, with all the chaos going on in the world as well. Being able to see and celebrate with our students. That picture in the centre there, we had some really good MBA graduates this time. Trevor doing some really exciting projects and so forth as well. So it's always a great occasion, Trevor, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's always really exciting. And that's where you just feel that sense of fulfillment, people who started as MBA candidates and seeing them through to graduation and sometimes hearing some success stories. And that is quite really inspiring for me as a teacher. So indeed, it's such a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the graduation ceremony with them.
Brilliant. So just a quick update on the Micro MBA. We've had quite a lot of interest so far, and it's really wonderful. Thank you to everybody that registered. And if you've not registered so far, please feel free. But in the latest stats, we had over 400 people registered. And we've got students from India, Nigeria. We've got British students here, Pakistani, Sri Lankan, Ghanaian, Bangladesh, Poland, Cameroon, and various others. Might be nice, actually, Trevor, to just, if we ask anybody following us now to just put into the chat which countries they're coming from. It'd be great to hear from you. So just if you pop into the chat which country you're joining from today. It'd be really good to see. The other thing, Trevor, we found that people that registered, 79% were interested in study at Chester as well, which is really good to hear. So obviously these are taster sessions, aren't they? But obviously there's lots of other things you could do, and we'll come back to that a little bit later as well about studying Chester for all those people that are interested. So Annie Penn is saying hi to us as well. Somebody coming in from the UK there as well. Kingsley's really glad to be here again. Hello, Kingsley. And Otelli's wishing us good morning. Otelli's Grace joining from Chester as well. And Arash is coming in from Iran. Clinton from Nigeria. Aruba, one of my former students, is coming in from UK there. Rashmi from India. And Adi from Singapore. So loads and loads of different nationalities there as well. But 79% of people are interested in studying at Chester as well, so we'll come back to that. But yeah, just a quick recap about the micro MBA. Obviously, if you've not registered already, you can do so on Chester AC UK /study/micro MBA, or just Google Chester micro MBA. And it is going to be 8 1-hour sessions between October and January with our experts and live discussion and QA. They are live streaming and recorded through Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You don't have to register to access the recordings or the live stream, but it is helpful because you'll get access to all the materials, the quizzes, and the certificate as well. And through that learning management system. And the learning system looks a bit like that. So once you register with email, you log in, and the recordings appear a little bit later. And then you obviously complete the quizzes to get the certificate. And Trevor, that's how the certificate is looking as well so far. So we're looking forward to putting those quizzes together. So tell us, Trevor, a little bit about how the quizzes work.
Yeah, the quizzes are going to be like, we're going to have 2 quizzes, one at the end of the 4th week, and it's just going to be a multiple choice quiz. And what we're going to be covering as part of those quizzes will be like the sessions you've covered. So we just want to find out from the tester sessions you've attended, just answer some very actually easy questions, but we expect you to be able to engage with that. We just want you to show us that you're engaging with the process and you're engaging with the systems we've provided and the resources we've provided. And also, remember, feel free to add any of our speakers, and myself, Alex, or Gosday, or any of the speakers we bring forward on LinkedIn. Feel free at any point, you've got our email addresses, just send us an email and say, all right, you've got any question, you've got any comments, or something you want us to probably take a conversation forward. We're always happy to do that at any point in time. So for those students who've or people registered, or participants who've actually done both quizzes, they are the ones that we're going to generate the certificate for at the end of the 8th week. So please, we're looking forward to you completing those quizzes when they're ready. I'm sure they're not going to be something you can answer, all right? These are just taster sessions. Attend and follow up. If you've missed anyone at all you need to do is please go back, see the recording, see some of the resources we've provided, and I'm sure you'll be able to address and under those quizzes easily, all right? So that's it, Alex.
Thanks for that, Trevor. So just recapping our learning outcomes. Again, I'm not going to read all those out, but there's a learning outcome for each session, and this particular session 2 is around understanding organizational character through leadership frameworks to lead effective change and improve organizational dynamics. Gosda, you're going to just quickly just recap on the sessions we've got planned.
Yes, thank you, Alex. So today, as you all know, our journey continues with the session on strategy led by Professor Kurt Allman. He will be here with us soon. Here we will dive into strategic thinking and approaches essential for our field. And next session is going to be on 12th of November at 1 p.m. by Professor Kirsty Simpson. She will guide us through leadership and organizational culture. This session is designed to help us understand the dynamics of leadership and the impact of culture within organizations. After that, later in the month, on the 29th of November at noon, we have organizational sustainability with Professor Juliana Powell-Turner. This important session will explore sustainable practices and strategies to help organizations drive responsibility. And moving into December, we will have finance session with Dr. David Akwaye on the 6th of November at 11:30 a.m. This session will cover financial fundamentals that are crucial for effective decision-making in any type of organization. On the 18th of December at 10 a.m., Carrie Pimblett will present a session on operations. She is one of our industry partners. And as I know, Alex, she is also one of our
professional doctorate as well as being an industry partner as well. So obviously we're trying to cross the bridges as usual between academia and practice.
Yeah. And in her session, we will delve into the operational aspects that keep organizations running smoothly and efficiently. After her session, after the holiday break, we will be back in January, starting with marketing on the 9th of January at 10 a.m. This session is going to be led by Professor Morvan, and this session will focus on understanding and reaching our target audience effectively. And finally, we will conclude the series with digital transformation by Dr. Fenton on the 15th of January at 10 a.m. This will be an insightful session into the evolving role of digital technologies in transforming industries and business models. And this series, this micro MBA, is designed to provide a comprehensive understanding across various key topics, helping you build a well-rounded skill sets. So we're all looking forward to an engaging and enriching journey with all of you.
Beautifully said, Costa. Thank you so much. Okay then, Trevor, over to you. The main event now. It's over to you to introduce our guest speaker who I've put onto stage now.
Right. Thank you very much, Gazde and Alex. So I'm going to introduce to you and bring to you now Professor Kurt Allman, and who's a professor of enterprise. He's also the Pro Vice Chancellor of the Faculty of Science, Business and Enterprise. And I don't think I need to say much about Kurt, all right? I'm sure by a taste of his session today, you'll be able to tell me how good he is. All right, over to you, Kurt. You're very much welcome, and thanks for contributing to the MBA, micro MBA sessions. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor. It's great to be here this afternoon. So welcome everybody, wherever you are in the world. As Trevor and colleagues have said, I'm a professor here in the business school. I've got a PhD in strategy. And as Trevor said, I've worked with about 5,000 businesses over a 25-year career, helping them to develop, craft, implement, and improve their strategies. So over the next sort of 15 minutes or so, I'm going to bring to you the key essentials of strategy. I'm going to try and give you some insights into how businesses use strategy within and around Chester. And then I'm going to end on thinking about how strategy is going to evolve going forward. So, like I said, I've got an unenviable task of trying to distill what would probably be about 10 weeks lectures into about 10 or 15 minutes. So this is going to be quite quick and fast paced, but there's opportunities at the end for you to ask questions if there's anything which you don't understand as well. So strategy is key to getting diverse businesses and organizations to be aligned, effectively getting them to have a common goal and purpose. So if you craft a great strategy, it's absolutely essential in terms of the organization's success. But obviously, if you get the strategy wrong, it's going to result in organizational failure. So it's essential that business leaders and MBA graduates have a thorough understanding of strategy essentials. And that's what we're going to go through in this afternoon's session. So in today's session, we're going to define strategy, consider how it's linked to both competitive positioning and operational effectiveness. And then we're going to explore the three core building blocks of strategy and go right back to basics. We're going to explore a few examples of businesses in and around Chester, some businesses which I'm sure you will have heard of. And then we'll briefly explore what new strategic thinking considers to be key to future-proofing businesses through the next industrial revolution. So if we just go on to the next slide, what we're going to look at here is, so just bear with me. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Is the strategy fundamentals. So according to Michael Porter, who was a guru in the 80s, who sort of really talked and explored strategy in its fundamental form. Strategy is all about creating value through a distinctive set of activities. So I just want you all to just think about and consider that if your organization, the organization you work for, or the organization you may be helping isn't distinctive, how do you compete? And this is something we'll come back to later on. So strategy is about identifying customers, their needs, and how customers may consume your goods and services, how customers may access your products and your services also. And also strategy might even be slightly more innovative in that you're developing a highly novel and innovative technology or service, and it's about creating a new market, one which doesn't presently exist. So I suppose, and finally, I suppose what Michael Porter was talking about, and it is at the heart of strategy, is competitive positioning. And we're going to explore that in a second. But he also came to the view that as technologies develop and emerge, that actually positioning is actually just only one component of being strategically successful. It's not the only component, as it was once done for about 20 years or so, or 2 decades in the 80s and 90s. And finally, you might be thinking, well, what's the significance of the zebras in this strategic presentation? Well, what I've found in my career is that most businesses don't actually really have a distinctive strategy. It's what we have an isomorphic strategy. It's really similar to existing businesses in their sector or their industrial cluster. And there's a real safety blanket of business leaders to have a strategy which is similar to other organizations. It's normalized in their community. And what we're saying is we want our MBA graduates and people who come on our executive programs to be brave and be able to develop those truly distinctive value propositions. Okay, so just thinking and going on to the next slide. Oh, sorry, that's one too many. Is when we think about organizations and strategy, it's not only thinking about the future, but it's also about coordinating the organization. So if you just look at that picture on the right, most international, multinational, big businesses have diverse business functions, which may be finance, operations, sales, human resources, IT, etc., etc. And so strategy is the glue which brings those different functions together, and it ensures that those functions are pulling in the right direction. This is particularly the case across where businesses may experience economic turbulence, social change, political instability, which is what we're seeing in Europe and in the US at the moment, and obviously environmental change. Also, we see that customer demands continually change and evolve, and this is as a result of them wanting more and more from your products and services, and as a consequence of increasing competition, where new products and services enter the marketplace, and you have to continually up your game as an organization. So every strategy effectively has to accommodate this evolving and diversifying need of your customers. And the other thing, which is a cornerstone of strategy, is value. And I'm going to talk today a lot about creating value. So, and strategy is increasingly about distributing that value across stakeholders. So in the 80s and 90s, when we talked about value, we talked about value for the owners or the shareholders of a business, or possibly for the financiers or those who've provided the risk capital for those businesses to grow, such as banks, venture capital, and private equity. But increasingly, we want to see a strategy which delivers value not only for those stakeholders, but for your collaborators, people within your value chain, and also creating sustainable value for your customers. And I think this is key to establishing reputation and brand as well. Continually providing new value creation for your customers. Finally, a challenge I've found that most businesses have and have difficulty in creating is developing a strategy which is both robust. So therefore, these economic challenges or global challenges we've talked about, which drives through those and is consistent over a 5-10 year period, to one which is equally flexible, so that when, as a result of competition or technology, you have to what we call pivot your strategy, it's sufficiently flexible to provide an ability to change direction. And also, I've got to sort of say, it's quite sometimes needed that business leaders can tear up the rule book, tear up the existing strategy and rewrite their strategy in the face of different market pressures, etc. And that's always a challenge again. And within the MBA, we explore how business leaders sort of do that as well. So if we just want to look at how do we actually create a strategy, in my mind, there are 3 core building blocks, and they comprise of strategic analysis, strategic choice, and strategic implementation. And quickly, I'm just going to go through those. So within strategic analysis, we have to define where the organization is headed. Where are we going to be in 5, 10, 15 years? And what's our purpose? You know, so we can either talk about our purpose or our mission statement. And that is basically on a day-to-day basis, what value do we create for our stakeholders? The vision and the mission are underpinned by goals and key performance indicators. So that's about where do we want to be at a moment in time, and how are we going to bring stakeholders with us to show them what success looks like. The KPIs are built up of what we call a position audit, which determines what resources and capabilities we have, and an external analysis, which helps us explore the nature of competition we face and the regulation. And maybe if you've done business management as an undergraduate, or if you've done other things before, those have typically been undertaken by a SWOT analysis. So the position audit and external analysis is just a long-winded way of doing a SWOT. And then finally, they lead into a gap analysis. Now, too many businesses I work with don't have gap analysis a strong component in the strategic analysis. So that's basically, where do we want to be and where are we? And that ties into the strategic implementation phase. And I'll come on to that in a moment. When we think about strategic choice, there are actually only a few core strategies that we have at our disposal. So that's cost leadership. So you as a business or an organization are going to be a leader in your field. You're going to be the cheapest. And it's one that your customers will think of. If they want something cheap, they will come to you. Now, that isn't a preferred strategy for most businesses, because it's often conceived as being a race to the bottom. You're competing on price and you're going to have really tight margins. The mainstay of most organizations is a differentiation, a strategy which differentiates you from your competitors. And the other one is a service level innovation, where you're known for delivering better service and ongoing service in your sector as well. So there's, in a very simple way, the 3 sort of generic strategies. But increasingly, those 3 generic strategies are underpinned by what we call business model innovation. So that's looking at your product life cycle, or how customers may use that product or service over a long period of time. So to bring that product and service to those customers, you may lock them in to a subscription model, a rental agreement, or a lease agreement, or you may use other platforms such as, I don't know, Vinted, Amazon, etc., to resell or sell on your goods and services, and you effectively take a margin. And again, within our Chester MBA, we explore business model innovation. It's not something we can do justice to today, unfortunately. And then finally, we move into strategic implementation. So this is where, within the organizations, departments, divisions craft plans about how they, whether they're a finance function, an IT function, they're going to deliver what is expected of them over a quarterly, monthly, annual basis as well. So again, you're going to track performance within that organization and you're going to review it. And that's what we call the classic performance management review. And that then feeds back to the gap analysis. So where did we think we were going to be, in what time frame, and where actually are we? And again, that then requires leadership and management interventions to continually close that gap. So those are the three strategic building blocks. We're now just going to look at that in the context of businesses in the Chester and Cheshire region. So we're quite fortunate to be in Chester and Cheshire, that we're a really manufacturing orientated economy, and we have some global brands. So we just look at that. So we've got Toyota, literally just down a few miles down the road from us. They produce the engines for Europe in Chester, and they want to be fully carbon neutral by 2040. We also have Stellantis, which you may be aware of, Peugeot, Maserati, Vauxhall, Opel. That's part of their brand. So they're a very big and global manufacturer. They have their van plant just up the road, and they want to have an electrification strategy going forward and be really highly ranked in terms of their customer satisfaction. We're fortunate enough to have Bentley just down the road in Crewe. They're a global car company, but very much at the luxury end. And again, they want to be a leader in sustainable and luxury mobility. We have Airbus, which is just down the road 5 miles away, and they have one of the largest manufacturing facilities in Europe. They make the wings for all of the aircraft in Europe there, and they want to be an aerospace and defense leader. We have SR, which has a huge facility just about 10 miles away from Chester, where they make about 35% of the UK's fuel for diesel, for cars and for aviation. So it's a huge plant, and they want to be almost sort of carbon neutral in the manufacturing of that. So they're investing billions in having a hydrogen facility. And then we've got EMR, which is the UK's largest privately owned company, just up the road in Warrington, and they want to be a global leader in sustainable materials. And when you look at all of those strategies, because they're technology intensive, they make things, it's all about differentiation. So again, in the MBA, we'd start to explore those in detail about how they differentiate themselves and how they've crafted their strategy and how they remain differentiated in increasing competition from whether it's Tesla or other manufacturers as well, such as Rivian, etc. So again, we explore through case studies how strategies evolve over a time period. So those are just a highlight of some of the great companies that we work with and are based themselves in Chester and the Cheshire region as well. So just thinking about strategy, a lot of those tools and techniques I've just explored were literally developed in the 1980s and 1990s, and we've been using those tools and techniques for quite a long time. But actually, what we've sort of seen is in the last decade, a bit of a change in how we develop and craft strategy going forward as a result of AI, greater connectivity between machines and machine learning, lower transaction costs in industry as a result of automation and micro production facilities, and also greater shifts in society, Gen Z, and the next generation wanting a different work-life balance. There have been some real changes in the rules of management. And I just want to finally end on what they're going to be. So whilst I've sort of said that, you know, the vision and mission are the key components of any sort of organizational lens, what I'd say increasingly we find is that businesses want to have a clear value statement and a purpose-led agenda. And what we want is our leaders and MBA grads to elegantly define what they are within that organizational space. As I've also sort of said, technology, when I first started teaching MBA grads, was like a bit of a peripheral activity. It was seen as an enabler, but now it's absolutely seen as a core component of your strategic success. So again, a lot of our students work with AI, digital transformation, responsible sort of leadership. So we introduce within most of our classes those elements of how technology are changing the rules of competition. So what we want are really technology literate leaders of the future. So knowing how to use data, use AI, use powerful visualization techniques in Tableau to show how you are a data-informed business. The other dimensions we've known about for a while, but we're definitely seeing within the UK and beyond greater multicultural, greater diverse teams, and we want to fashion leaders of the future who are both aware and sensitive of working across these different fragmented teams where they may be based across the world, and being really aware to your leadership styles and how you bring those people with you on your journey. That brings us to leadership. Increasingly, we want our leaders to be flexible and adaptable and decisive. And again, you need to develop your skills and techniques to bring people with you who are from diverse multinational teams. So where you've got diversity of opinion, diversity of perspectives, but you're able to quickly bring those people together to make decisive decisions and actions on the back of that as well. And finally, as we've talked about in this presentation, strategy is about creating value, but increasingly we see value as being socially responsible and also operating with social license. So how organizations consume natural resources is increasingly contingent upon society's perceptions and them wanting and empowering businesses to do that in a sustainable way. So strategy is about producing socially guided and socially responsible enterprises. So we've gone through an awful lot there in, I don't know what is, just over about 15 minutes. So I'm going to pause, Trevor, and see if we've got any questions or reflections on anything I presented there. So I don't know if we've got any questions from the audience, or if you want to, Alex Gosden, just come in as well and have any reflections as well.
Kurt's really interesting. Obviously, it's such a massive topic, isn't it? And obviously, I think you've covered some really interesting ground there, made some really good points. And it's nice as well, I think, that in this kind of first proper session that you've talked about strategy as the glue between all these different components and things. So I suppose in marketing, we might think about, differentiating. We talk about things like a purple cow, so the purple cow standing out against that herd of zebras, etc. But obviously, with all the chaos going on in the world at the moment, obviously in the political sphere, as all the rest of it, you talked earlier about almost sometimes having to rip up the strategy or revise the strategy. So when a massive global event happens like that, how do leaders then sort of respond in terms of their strategies, and what opportunities does it create?
That's a sort of really timely question, is at the heart of some of the strategic challenges that businesses face. So I agree with you. Strategy is about that glue. So what we find within organizational societies is we do want to have a common sense of where we're all going. So when there is turbulence, we know what our primary objectives are on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So it's absolutely key to have a clear strategy. And that gets, as I said, us pulling us all in the right direction. But there are times where either technology or political challenges face an organization, and we've got to step back and sort of effectively reinvent what the organization's purpose and mission is. And that's incredibly difficult for organizations, I've got to say, Alex. Actually, it's not something that they find naturally easy, because obviously over a period of time, they've invested in capital, in infrastructure to push on with the status quo. But generally what we find is business leaders, when there is turbulence, have a number of options. So they can increasingly collaborate. So collaborate with businesses across the world to step into new arenas or new markets which may be they're able to sell their goods and services as a result of tariffs or other dimensions. Or they may want to go and purchase other new entities as well. So new startups where there's new ideas, new products and services, which they can nurture and develop and move quickly into their space. Or, as most businesses do, Alex, unfortunately, they continue with the status quo on a path to failure. And we know that when you look at the FTSE 100, the 500 in the US, when faced with discontinuities, businesses do fail because they've not redeployed or redefined their strategy moving forward.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Gosda, we've got a couple of questions coming in. You want to highlight one or two of those for us?
Yeah. First question is from Kasim Nassar. He is asking, data is very important today, and even strategies are built using data from many sources. What do you think about this saying, Kurt?
Yeah, absolutely. So we even find that in our line of work in the university. So increasingly, we're able to access data which we've created, or pay for data which we're able to access as well. Now, it's great having access to all of this data, but we have to make use of it in an intelligent way. So there's a number of ways that we can use that, is by using some tools and techniques to cut through a lot of data and say, what is it of all of this information and data that we're presented with? How do we make sense of it? And so we're able to do that through some sort of AI techniques. So again, we use platforms to bring some intelligence into sense making in the environment. We're able to introduce this data to our colleagues and take them offline, and we have sessions where we're not working on the business, so we're working in the business, we're working on the business, and we try and, through multicultural, diverse teams, infer some sense from that data. So again, there's a number of tools and techniques that we can use to bring different people, different stakeholders together to try and make sense of the information that we're presented. I mean, this is an art form, it's not a science, of course. So again, and the other thing I find as well is sometimes businesses can keep pursuing data from different sources, and often it can be, they're overwhelmed with that information and data as well, in that it paralyzes organization decision making. So I think sometimes there's an element within strategy to know we've collected enough data, we know our customers, we know in the environment, we're going to make a decision and move with it. It's really important not to be paralyzed by having sort of strategic information overload.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kurt.
It's a great question.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great question. We have another question from Joe Wheeler. He's asking, can you comment on Elon Musk's companies? Do they have a strategy, or are they reactive to opportunities and light bulb moments that Elon may have?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when we talk about entrepreneurs, there's no one springs to mind other than Elon is, an interesting character, an outspoken sort of individual. And obviously, he's been quite a serial entrepreneur throughout his sort of career. So just thinking about, say, Tesla, which is obviously is probably one of his most sort of famous sort of brands within his portfolio, is if we went back to the differentiation, if we were to explore that a little bit further, he has a focused differentiation around obviously electric vehicles and making that quite a seamless sort of experience. So again, there obviously had a very clear strategy to rolling out the sort of EV platform and how you would do that through a network of chargers when others weren't taking that approach. So again, he took a very differentiated, a niche differentiated approach, supported it with a business model which was around that sort of accessibility. Obviously, some of his other adventures are quite, they may have a commercial dimension. So the SpaceX is not something I'm quite familiar with. But obviously, when you're one of the world's richest men, there are a number of areas that you want to explore. And obviously, he is a pioneer. So he is about creating market opportunities which don't exist. And it's quite difficult to sort of strategically place those individuals with that pioneering spirit. You know, when you think of those businesses in the past which have adopted a similar approach, you know, they're the ones which definitely are able to capture a market through that first mover advantage. You know, so the likes of Microsoft, previously sort of 3M, etc., etc. So he's definitely that first mover approach where the market doesn't exist and he creates it. So yeah, I don't know whether it's a light bulb moment. I'm sure Elon would probably say it's as a consequence, there's a lot of work behind the scenes on developing it, evaluating, bringing stakeholders with him, raising capital. But certainly we find in the US, in China, other economies, where they've got the capital clout to really deliver those highly innovative, highly productive businesses to the market, you know, because they are generally capital intensive. So not quite light bulb moment, but definitely very inspirational, highly innovative entrepreneurs behind those businesses. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Kurt.
Justin, we've got an interesting question here about the benefits of the MBA as well, which I know, Kurt, you were going to talk through that a little bit. So just for context, Addy's is saying, thanks for the insightful whistle-stop tour of strategy. I'm a final year psychology student at Chester. I'm wanting to move into organisational psychology and leadership, but they're curious about the benefits of an MBA over organisational psychology masters, or is there a place for both in business? So I wonder, Kurt, if it's a good time to kind of talk a bit more about the Chester MBA.
Okay, so that's a great question. And I've got to sort of say, I love anybody who's come from a different background. So if you've got psychology, etc., bring those insights into sort of organizational leadership as well. So yeah, doing an MBA would really sort of benefit you if you did want to move into that management space. I mean, essentially, if I want to just differentiate an MBA to other master's programs, you're effectively looking at different organizational functions. So like say strategy, operations, marketing, like I say, the leadership, the HR. So you really have to have mastery of all of those different pillars of organization. And again, the glue within that is you have clear mastery of strategy, which pulls those functions together. So it's not only just having knowledge of those key organizational functions to meet you need within an MBA. It is around sort of thought leadership. So within an MBA, what you want is an MBA which has research informed material. So most of our colleagues who teach on the MBA are researching in their field, but also, as Alex alluded to earlier on, we want to have industry practitioners in the classroom as well, illustrating to you the challenges that they're facing now, so that when you finish with an MBA, you can literally hit the ground running and help them face the challenges that they're currently facing. The other thing I'd say is about our MBA, as you may get this in other MBAs as well, we're a really diverse faculty and a really diverse cohort of students as well, and that's absolutely key if you're looking to a sort of global career as well. And that's something, you know, I would highly recommend. I've had a global career. I've worked in 2 other continents in my life, and it's something I think, you know, having an MBA enables you to do that, and working with different cultures, people from different backgrounds is all part of that. The other thing I think I want to sort of stress just about the sort of Chester MBA, as I've alluded to, is 2 things. We're based in a really advanced manufacturing economy here in Chester. We're second only to London in the UK. We've got some global companies here and clusters of companies such as biotech, chemicals, manufacturing, smart manufacturing. So again, you have an opportunity to work with them as part of your study, whether it's live projects, or I know something that Alex is going to talk about. You're also able to augment your MBA and have a 1-year and 2-year offer here as well. And finally, you want to go to a place that's really fun to live and experience as well. And I've got to sort of say, Chester is an absolutely stunning historic city, as Gosda was alluding to. It's 2,000 years old as a city. The Romans were here first. It's a really safe city, so you can be yourself, whoever that may be. And like I said, it's beautiful. If you just Google, you'll just see the images. And I know Time Out and other magazines have run an article saying it's the most beautiful city in the world when you take the sort of Pythagoras theorem into account. You know, that magic number, which looks at the aesthetic of buildings. So it's believe it or not, it's even more beautiful than Venice. And obviously, it's a business school which has global connections through AACSB. And we've been shortlisted for Times Business School of the Year. We know in late November, later this month, whether we've got that accolade for Business School of the UK, of the Year in the UK. And also we're Educate North Business School. So again, that's about us working with businesses, putting our students in front of businesses and getting them to explore contemporary issues. So whether you've done business management as an undergrad, you're in work, we offer part-time MBAs as well. And as Alex said, some of our students have done part-time DBAs with us. So we have lots of products that you to engage and continue your educational journey. And like I say, Gosda, Trevor and Alex are just representative of the faculty members. We're really friendly and we want to see you succeed in your studies and your education and your career as well.
Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you so much, Kurt. Alex, we have one more question. Can I bring the question to the screen?
Yeah, I was thinking before we pull that one up, I wonder if Trevor just wanted to just coming back to Addy's question, or whether Trevor, as MBA director, wanted to add anything.
Maybe we just take the question and then I'll say a bit about the MBA program. I think Kurt has really said a lot about the program. Well done, Kurt. Maybe now I'll give you a place in the MBA program.
Thanks, Trevor. Gosda, do you want to bring that comment up for us?
Sure. The question is coming from Clinton. Would you say having a research and development department is very crucial when it comes to developing strategies, especially when it comes to political issues affecting business operations?
Yeah, we've seen and we can see that. So when you look at global data from the OECD, those businesses that invest in research and development, those economies which support R&D are much more enduring. You know, the ability to create products and services of the future is absolutely key to strategic success. So that's the sort of economic success. But also, you've used political issues with a lowercase p there. Obviously, when we have a saying in the UK, and I don't know if it sort of translates of sort of not invented in my backyard, when businesses have R&D departments, when it's developed in-house, it's much easier to sell that technology sort of internally as well, because you've got the technical capabilities to absorb, develop and refine that technology across its life cycle. But increasingly, we've got to recognize that not all businesses can develop all of the technology all of the time. It's really costly and you won't have the capabilities. So increasingly, R&D departments work collaboratively, commercially with other, whether it's universities, research and training organizations globally, and other businesses to help lower the risk of their R&D as well. So that is absolutely key. The other things, if you want to take a capital P in terms of political issues, having an R&D department internally enables you to sort of develop responses to legislation, whether that's environmental legislation or government legislation as well. And this comes back a little bit to the previous question around Elon Musk, because most of his businesses are really R&D intensive. He's able to navigate, circumvent, respond to evolving environmental regulation or political regulation and intervention effectively, because he's got the knowledge behind him to negotiate increasingly complex and less transparent regulation. So I would always say R&D is crucial to organizational success, but if you don't have it, the good news is you're able to collaborate and support your own R&D capability through collaboration, whether that's with the university or another enterprise.
probably worth mentioning that, that there are, various kind of government schemes around now as well, aren't there? Things like knowledge transfer partnerships and others to allow, organisations to work with universities to try and bridge that gap. Because if you're a smaller SME, you're probably not going to be able to afford to have an R&D department, and you might struggle to, to embed that knowledge or, utilise those skills and so forth as well. And these are kind of big projects, aren't they? But in order for universities to bridge that gap, I mean, you mentioned the 1 and 2 year offer on our MBA and our other master's programs. Working with substantial student projects and placements can almost serve as a little bit of an R&D function, can't it? To kind of get started with a substantial student project as well.
Absolutely. I mean, for years now, we've been using our MBAs and other master's students within organisations to sort of just pressure test some of their assumptions and ideas around customers, et cetera, et cetera. So probably now for about 15 years, our MBA students have been working out in the region, providing sort of free consultancy advice. So the businesses get a second opinion. The MBA or MSc students get some experience of doing that consultancy advice, and it's really key. So as you've said, we now have a 2-year offer where once you've covered all of the taught material on the MBA, you can start to put that to use in an organisation, in a paid placement, or as part of a research project, which is great. As you've said, we've got PhD students providing advice, strategic advice and consultancy to businesses. I was a PhD student like that. Alex with United Utilities, a big company just up the road where I worked in their R&D function. So again, there's lots of opportunities for our students to get out there and help lower the costs and risks of businesses doing R&D. And if you're a company in Cheshire and Warrington and listening to that podcast today, I'd ask that you get involved and just reach out to us, and we'd love to work with you, whether it's through a project, a student project, or a funded placement activity.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kurt. I don't think we've got any more questions, but just to add, now that we're talking about Chester MBA, I'll say by coming to us or working with us, even as a partner, as a candidate, or as an alumni, I'll tell you that the success story from our Chester MBA is enormous. And just talking about some of our alumni, I think I would want to talk about today, because there's one that just came off the press, which is by 2 of our alumni, actually, Lena and Dan. I don't know, these ones are...
I will bring it good. Now. Let me check if you can see my... Yes, you can see it now, right?
Yeah, if you can just scroll that down a bit. Lena and Dan are students actually in our MBA program. I taught them in 2019, and they met there in that program, international students, home students, bringing them together. I remember the very first time they were doing their consultancy project module, which was BU 7406. And the both of them were presenting this idea on that day. And today they've been able to secure funds from Dragon's Den. They started then at Trafford Centre in Manchester, but they now have branches all over the UK. And the Times just published both of them last week as amongst top 50 to watch, top 50 businesses to watch. And they're part of our MBA alumni, So the truth is, while you're here with us, we try as much as possible to prepare you, to support you. And even when you finish as a student, we still provide you with that sort of space where you get that sort of support from our career and employability team. You know how to take things forward. We've got people also coming to mentor you, business owners. So if you come in, for example, say, I'm so interested in sustainability. We say, all right, we've got a business who's operating in that sector. And then we could link you with them in terms of them mentoring you. So our MBA program is there to support you and our alumni. This is just one of the stories, and I'm sure every session we've got, or at least I'll be able to share more stories about our alumni and their success stories. And most especially, we're also really keen on supporting businesses within the region. So for us, Kurt did mention about stakeholders. Okay, for us, our stakeholders is not just our MBA candidates, but also the businesses within the Chester area. We work, how do we support them? How do we make the region better? How do we make the country better? And how do we make the world better? Because we are very keen on developing responsible leaders. So from our modules, for example, you're going to see stuff around sustainability, ethics. We want to develop ethical leaders. People can actually go out there and make things work the right way. We believe so much in the golden rule. We want to treat others the way we want to be treated, and that's something that actually, that's an ethos when it comes to our MBA program. So indeed, we're looking forward to you guys, not just the MBA program, our other postgraduate programs. You have to see people going out for several other support are in place in terms of you have the opportunity of visiting companies as part of your assignment, having lots of guest lecturers coming in, and also master classes. I think we had one master class on Wednesday evening, which was really rich on innovation management. And that was a visiting professor from Marmara University in Turkey, coming in, working with us, talking about all he's done. He's had lots of businesses, lots of research outcomes, using that to inform our students. So our MBA program is special, and I'll say Chester is a special place. Okay.
Brilliant. Thanks, Trevor. There's two more questions. We've got about 5 minutes left. Should we just quite quickly take these last two questions and then we'll wrap up? Yeah.
From Joe Wheeler, what advice would you give to Keir Starmer to grow the economy? We seem to have lots of entrepreneurs who disappear abroad to find backers.
Yeah, Joe, this is a bit of a bugbear of mine as well. So when the new administration came in, they talked about growing of the economy. That's absolutely key to getting us out of some of the challenges we face. I mean, we saw the sort of stimulus packages that the Biden administration brought in, which were really effective in kickstarting the sort of US economy. But I think firstly, we've got to really have, Joe, a good industrial strategy, one which supports enterprise, and the risk of starting a business is going to feature large in that. I mean, I was slightly disappointed with the budget. I don't think it sent the right message to those who are risking sort of finance and capital to start businesses. And I do agree we lose too many, particularly to the US, where there's a slightly more free supply of capital to develop their businesses. I mean, the good news is in the UK and in Cheshire, we're actually quite an entrepreneurial economy. We're not the best in the world. That goes to Nigeria in actual fact, but we are good, and we've got to support that next generation of businesses, service businesses, finance businesses, industrial businesses to grow. Because what we do know is the big businesses of today won't be the big businesses tomorrow. So we have got to really support that entrepreneurial economy. But let's definitely go for a drink to the pubs, Joe, and talk about that further. It's definitely something I could talk about all night. It is a challenge for the UK economy, definitely.
Just talking of Nigeria, so just say hi there to Jumbo Joy as well. I mean, I think with some of these developing economies, Nigeria and India as well, it's a really exciting time from that young workforce coming through with the technology element that you've added earlier. Yeah. And I think obviously universities can provide a really good platform for that kind of knowledge exchange between those international students as well. The last question, just relating to that slightly, is from Roshmi, who's asking, is actually R&D departments needed for the educational industry, which is an interesting one.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really timely you asked it. It's a really insightful question, actually, because again, as you know, schools, colleges, universities, we're sort of struggling to deliver what we need to deliver in our traditional business model. So definitely here at Chester, probably about 2 years ago, we started our own R&D department for education. It's CADE. I can't remember quite what the acronym stands for. But yeah, so we have our little skunk works, our R&D function, which is getting us to challenge some of the norms and routines that we've developed. Like myself, I've developed over 25 years. What I traditionally think the right way to conduct teaching, education, etc., are being challenged. So yeah, we do need to do that. We need to collaborate with more learning platforms, more international partners to bring new perspectives. Because, like I say, the current model is really financially challenged. So yeah, that's a really good, timely question.
Fantastic, Kurt. Thank you so much. It's been a really engaging session. Loads of food for thought. Obviously, this session will be recorded.
Sorry, Alex, just to quickly say what Kurt did mention, CADE, Center for Academic Innovation and Development. So that's what we did set up. Yeah.
Sure, definitely. And, you know, universities could be doing more of this. You know, they do work a lot with third parties and things as well, don't they, I suppose? But yeah, but Kurt, thank you so much. And you've provided us some materials, Kurt, as well, which will add to the learning management system along with this video. But just to wrap up, colleagues, obviously, please make sure you register if you've not done so already, and put all the sessions in your diary. Have a look at Chester's other study options, undergraduate, postgraduate. Follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, etc. And please feel free to post to social media, join the Micro MBA, and spread the word a little bit. So we look forward to seeing you for session 3, which is going to be on leadership with the Dean of Chester Business School, the award-winning Chester Business School. It's Kirsty Simpson on the 12th of November at 1 p.m. UK time. Colleagues, anything you want to say to wrap up?
I just want to say thank you to Kurt for joining us today, and thank you to all our participants and for those wonderful questions and comments. And I'm looking forward to seeing more from you. Thank you. And again, if you've got friends, you've got relatives, you've got networks where you think they're going to be able to get value from this, value, that's all we've heard today. So by all means, tell them they can still register and engage with us. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, just a very final question from Neil there is asking how he gets in touch with the uni. To start off with, obviously, the university's website and the different departments, courses, etc. And of course, you can find and highlight members of staff as well through the website and LinkedIn as well. But all those details will be on the website for you, Neil. Okay, thank you, colleagues. Gosta, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so I just want to briefly mention about next session, which is going to be led by Kirsty Simpson. And so in her session, we will explore how to understand organizations in a similar way to understanding individuals. So we will have her session next week. Hope to see you all again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. See you next time.
Thank you so much, Kurt.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you.
Alumni.